All right, guys, it's Copper Cutlass, and I've kind of been shitty and sick all week. So Sunday, we made some serious progress on the car. I picked up the welder from my buddy's place up in Wisconsin. It works good. I am still a little not exactly happy with the wire feed, and I think it's the liner, but I don't like replacing liners on welders, so I might just go to Harbor Freight and buy a gun and liner assembly cheap and see how that works out. Because gun liners and the guns themselves are relatively inexpensive, and it seems to feed a little inconsistent. And I'm gonna chalk that up to the liner, because if I move it or twist it a certain way, it's smooth, and if it lands a certain way, it's a little off. And he does have a really nice Miller gun on there and a liner. I don't like replacing liners. I just replace the assemblies. That's what I'm used to always doing. So anyway, I've been sick since probably Wednesday. I didn't go to work Wednesday. Woke up feeling like absolute dog shit. And or Wednesday, or was it Tuesday? It was fucking, I don't know. Somewhere in the middle of the week, I kind of I came home Tuesday night just feeling horrible, and literally I just took my work boots off and laid down in the spare bedroom and died for about 24 hours. And if you guys have followed along, you guys know that I may have mentioned that I picked up the roll bar from JJ. We met up. And man, my phone is really constantly trying to adjust. Let me change that angle. I picked up the roll bar kit from JJ, and I got a really bad fever that night, but it went away. And the week before, I actually took a Monday off because I woke up pretty sick. So it's been like 3 weeks, and it really hasn't gone away. I've had a cough. Finally, I'm starting to shake it off, but this last bout has been bad, and unfortunately, the nicest week of the year so far, I haven't been able to do anything. Where I really wanted to go out there and at least get some of the down tubes cut to length, get ready to cut some angles into them. We got our profiler came in on Tuesday. It was supposed to come in Thursday, so that was like a gift, and then we got sick. So I have my little sheet here of things I want to do and things that we have accomplished. We started working on the car at the end of February or January, I should say. So that was week one was the last week of January. We boxed the frame. And I mean really work. We boxed the frame because the week before I kind of made templates. I had to order steel and then get stuff. And then it took me a little while, but it was the last weekend of January where we boxed the frame. And that was a whole ordeal. I literally killed 12 hours. That was probably the most labor-intensive task so far, was actually probably boxing the frame, because of the length, the amount of welding, the amount of cleaning, the amount of bullshit, running out of wire, you name it. My buddy bailed me out. We ran out of welding gas. He brought his tank over. And then week two was finish the cross member, and then little things start getting the interior out was week three, and then we got the MSD box out, the interior out. There was a lot of removal, and it was actually quite a bit of work to get all that stuff out. It took me 3 or 4 hours, because I can't just take this shit out. I have to be careful. My entire electrical panel had to come out, and I had to mark stuff and make stuff so that I could put it back in and not struggle. And then we also ended up removing the fuel cell. There was a lot of little things involved, where that was actually kind of a good 5 or 6 hours of work. And then week four, which would have been last week, was prep work, which we did. But then we also started welding. So we're just a hair ahead of time, because on my week five, which would have been this weekend, was mock up and tack weld. And we do have our main hoop in place and tack welded. and it's at, sitting at 90 degrees, 90 and a half. And, but the stuff I wanted to do during the week, I just wasn't able to do. And since I've been sick, I don't want to push it. I'm still kind of recovering. I think I'm going to try to go out there and do like small stuff, like my templates. I need to make templates for the rear firewall. I need to make templates for the floor cutouts. I need to make templates for the drop-offs for where my main hoop mounted, which I'm sure you guys saw the way I had to do it. I have to make a drop-off to weld it to the frame. Throat's getting scratchy here. And then, so hopefully if I'm feeling better next week, what I'm going to be doing this weekend is going to help me significantly, and we might be able to at least have all of our main pieces in place ready to weld. And if that's the case, and I feel confident with the welder, and I'm going to test both welders, because I had a couple of variables, and I'll explain later, but my Lincoln 140 works good, but the duty time on it is not as good as the Miller, even though the Miller's a 130, my Lincoln's a 140. Obviously, the electronics in the Miller are better. They can withstand heat better. But also, my extension cord is really long. So what I ended up doing was I went out and I bought an extension cord. And I'm going to go buy an extension cord end and shorten it. Because when you have a long extension cord and you're welding, well, that just creates resistance and it works against you. And I do like the way that my Lincoln welds. But I prefer thin gauge wire. It burns a little easier. It creates, and we're welding on mild steel, so I'm going to get some thin wire, and I'm going to do a couple of test pieces. By that time, we'll have some scrap, and I'll test, and I'll ultimately decide what I'm going to do between the two welders, but I have the option because I have two. But what we're going to be doing is, my buddy gave me a really good idea. Instead of the conduit, he told me to go out and buy some PVC pipe and make one down tube for the rear, one down tube for the front. Get it close, right? So we gave ourselves enough area in the front for the pads to where we got a lot of wiggle room, right? So we're going to notch, you can notch the front down tube at 90 degrees because it'll pivot at any point. And then at the bottom, I can't use the profiler, but what I can do is I can measure my angle, put the angle on the freaking whatcha-who's-it PVC, and then just cut it with a hacksaw by hand and get it at least close. And the most important part there is to figure out the end-to-end measurement between the end of the notch and the very end of the angle cut. And that's where, like, yeah, using the profiler is the key here. But when I cut my down tube and leave myself, like, let's say I put that down tube like all the way towards the front of my weld pad, I can put the profile gauge through the tube, push it down, pull it up, contour it, drop it down, and not lose much length because I have 6 inches to work with on the pad. And otherwise, the other correct way to do it is to string line it, and you have to center the string line through the profiler, and it's a little bit trickier. We're kind of hybriding it. We're hybriding it here. So what I'm going to be doing this weekend is going to be a lot of paperwork. We're going to be doing a lot of templates for the rear firewall, the top of the firewall, which we're going to end up doing in aluminum. I'm going to do it nice. And then we're going to end up doing our templates for the floor cutouts, where we're going to have to patch back up. and a couple of little areas that I want to go ahead and patch up because they should be patched up. And then, again, creating more work. I'm going to be putting in new carpet with no sound deadener, but I want to end up mounting my shifter on a pedestal. And I'm going to end up getting rid of the manual launch device, which the track outlawed like as soon as somebody protested, which was bullshit. But it did work. It just, you know, even though it's NHRA illegal, the track can still ban certain things. And that's one of the things that they excluded from their sportsman class. And then the other thing that's weighing heavy on me is like, do I want to push forward and get this car ready for the season, which we have enough time to get it done. But it's going to require dedicated weekend work, and the bulk work of the welding and all that stuff is kind of going to come to an end here in the next couple of weeks. I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll be ready, which that'll be like, you know, mid-March, before the end of March. I have to have this all welded in before the end of March because I got firewall work to do. I got to put a new fuel cell. I got to put fuel lines back in it, brake lines back in it, carpet in it, you know, and then like our first race is like at the end of April. And I'm not worried about testing because last year we needed a test because we were still figuring stuff out with the carburetor, and we still chased our tail with the carburetor up until July. And then once we figured that out, boom, like we went 2 finals, a semifinal round, and we started going rounds. Go imagine that. So, you know, everything's working pretty good. So I'm not too worried about running out and testing immediately. I know that we're going to have I know that I can, as long as I have the car finished, like by the second week of April, we're good, and we can hit the track at least 1 weekend prior to a race and shake it all out, and it gives us time. I also need to get new belts. My belts are out of date, out of cert. There's just a long list of little things I got to work on. So hopefully this kind of fills you guys in on what I've been doing. It hasn't, like, I've been putting a lot of videos and stuff of what I've been doing and just kind of babbling on, much like this one, but there's a lot of purpose and a lot of planning behind it to try to make it work. And this week I really planned on taking advantage of the warm weather, but I've been sick, and it hasn't worked out. So like I was really looking forward to having everything ready to kind of start tacking it in place this weekend and then maybe welding it. But I was going to have my friend come by and help me when I was ready to do the welding, because it's nice to have somebody there to help you. If you got a problem with the welder, you don't have to jump in and out of the car. Like last Sunday, it absolutely beat me up to constantly be jumping in and out of the car, in and out of the car, in and out of the car, just to set up the welder. You know, as it gets hot, you got to sometimes crank it up a little bit. You got to move with it. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And if there's anything you guys would like to see that I'm doing, let me know. I just figured I'd make this video because getting sick this week is kind of a kick in the balls, because it's been the warmest week of the year, and I haven't been able to do anything. I missed a day of work, and just it sucked. I'm still kind of getting over it. You know, I'm trying to rest. I've been resting a lot, and but I need to get out there and get stuff done and make it work, which we know how to do, but you know, we can't. Some things we can't control. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Share, like, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as Copper Cutlass, and we'll see you guys around. Hope my dogs have annoyed you plenty in the background with their weird fucking noises. So we'll see you around.